We're going to get started here today. I just want to welcome everybody to our 18th annual meeting, the WCEDA 18th annual meeting. Can't believe it's been 18 years. I've been here for 8, but it's really exciting to see everybody here. We look forward to this all year. I hear that from a lot of people as well. I think I know most of you in the room. It's been really great to get to know you over the years. We have, I think, a really exciting program that's got some useful information, a keynote speaker, so I'm looking forward to that. But before we get to that, have some thank yous and a few words from our sponsors. And so, there's just so many people, including all of you, that we're grateful for your support, for your partnerships. We really couldn't do what we do in connecting people to resources and helping with expansions and relocations and people starting up. So thank you really to everyone. We have a big list of sponsors, so thank you for that. We've been really blessed with great sponsorship for these events, and I think you'll be happy to know that any of the extra proceeds that come in from this event we use to subsidize our workforce programs, so kind of going back into the community. I want to thank some of our members, and in particular the county has been just a great supporter, and we have Mark Roberta here, who's our Wallace County administrator, who's been very supportive of WCEDA and our efforts, as has the county and the full board there, so really appreciate that. We have, and if you could, to the list of board members, so, I obviously don't do this on my own. We have a great board, just wonderful people that dedicate a lot of their time, their oversight, their insights, and financial support. So really lucky to have them, and I just want to thank all our board members and committee members for all the work that they do to help us and help economic development in the region. Next, I'd like to just really, staff, we could never do what we're doing here. We cover so much ground and just so many different activities, and so I just want to thank our staff. They work really hard, they're very dedicated, they love what they do. We get great feedback from our partners that just to carry staff, so thank you to everybody. This is always a hard time of the year to get ready for this, and they never let me down, so thank you so much for that. And of course, the Grand Geneva always does a great job here, just first rate. Really appreciate helping us make this successful. At this point, I'd like to invite up a few of our sponsors here, and our first sponsor here, the presenting sponsor for the event, is Mercy Healthcare. They were a founding member of WCEDA way back in 2005, and just have been very active and supportive ever since. And so we're truly grateful for their support and leadership. And at this time, I'd like to call up Karen Olliston here to just, give a little bit of an overview of Mercy and share a few good things with you. So, Karen, if you could come up.
So can everybody hear me okay? Okay. That's what the class on here pretty soon. So I'm very proud to be with Mercy Health System. I've been there since I was 18 years old and started out as a nursing assistant. And I had a lot of help from the health system, helping me get through associate degree, a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees, and becoming a fellow in the American College of Healthcare Execs. My name is Karen Olliston, and I am the Chief Nursing Officer for the Mercy Health Walworth Hospital, as well as the Mercy Harvard Hospital. So welcome all of you. We're proud to be a sponsor of this event. Thank you. Sure. So just a little bit about Mercy for those of you who of our service area. We have over 7,000 partners and employees in all of our facilities. Walworth, of course, is part of that. We have over 700 physicians. And as you know, we have facilities in the Wisconsin as well as the Illinois area. And you can kind of see here where we're all located and getting ready to expand into Crystal Lake area with the new hospital down there. We do provide exceptional health care with a passion for making lives better. That is our mission. And you can see some of our partners here. I had being able to go out and be in the helicopter and take a look around in there and how tight it is for patients, etc. in there. So that's kind of interesting. So I want to talk a little bit about what we do at Mercy. We all know we're strong partners in the community, and we are big supporters of the United Way in Walworth County and Open Arms Clinic, which is having their event coming up here pretty soon also. A lot of our physicians and staff help out at Open Arms Clinic also. We do serve as the sports medicine provider for many of our high schools in UW Whitewater. And we partner with many of you in occupational medicine services as well as our Mercy Care insurance plans. We understand and know that you're struggling, we have struggling workforce challenges. We have those also at Mercy. Trying to get nurses in, we've known that there's going to be a nursing shortage since I was a nurse way back in 1982 when I started. You guys the nurses are laughing up here because we've known this. We've all written papers on it, right? So we struggle with that. Now I'm trying to get nursing staff in and trying to get other healthcare providers in also. So we've had to look at new tactics. What can we do? Using social media platforms to make sure that we are looking at getting the message out to everybody. Our approach is multifaceted, and it needs to be that way for everybody. We have to get that information out to everybody. We're focused on growing talent, mission focus, retention efforts, and finally recruitment. In addition to the passionate world-class care that we provide to residents of Walworth County, Mercy Health System is also focused in investing to develop future healthcare workers and talent in the communities that we serve, like Walworth. We work with area colleges in various aspects of healthcare to piece up students through their clinicals and help them with the intent to capture them while they're here. Plus, we can kind of watch what they're doing while they're there and make sure we want to add them to our programs. For example, not only do I work at Mercy Hospital or Mercy Health System, but I also teach for UW Oshkosh. And I teach the Excel program because I would not be able to be a clinician out on the floor. The Excel program is a kind of an exciting program because the kids that come in, kids, all of them are like in their late 20s or late 30s, right? They all have to have a bachelor's degree of some sort. And then they come into the Excel program and we place them in all of the hospitals around in the areas. And Mercy takes wanting to get these nurses in also. And then in 9 months, we put them through a stringent clinical, and we try to get them to be right there on the floors with us all the time, and then hire them on in. So we've done that. One of the other things that we've done is we're working with the school systems, and we actually have our first high school CNA. They have a program in the high schools, and we've hired our first high school CNA to come in. That way we can teach them. Most of the nursing programs demand that you have your CNA before you start into programs. We don't want them to get in there and go, I don't really like healthcare, I don't want to do this. So it's a good time for us to get them in there and teach them and have them work with the other staff there. Another example is one of the things we've done. One of our vice presidents, Jenny Hallett, her daughter is in the Spanish class, and there's Spanish for healthcare. They're actually the Badger High School, and we are going to bring them in next week, and they will be get exposed to what about medical interpreting. And while they're in the building, we will open up our sim lab to them. We will take them and let them look at all of the different opportunities that they would have as they come into the hospital. So, and not only just nursing, but radiology, the lab, all of the different areas. We also just received approval to start our own rural training track and family medicine residency program right here in Walworth County. And we will do that at Walworth Hospital, and they will do their, and work at the clinic in Lake Geneva here, where we'll be focusing on training brand new physicians, especially to serve and continue their careers in smaller communities like that. That is like a really big need all over. And in closing, I just want to say that we would like to share a video that we actually share with our candidates that come in. One of the things that I hear frequently from particularly nursing staff and physicians as they come through, the culture within Mercy Walworth, I'm so proud. It's like my big little hospital, and I call it mine, but it's not really mine, it's the team's. But they do, that culture there is really interesting. The physicians and the nursing staff, radiology, lab, everybody works really well together, and it's exciting to watch that, and people comment on it. The students comment on it, staff comment on it, people when they're coming through the culture at Mercy Walworth Hospital. So I'm very excited about that and proud of those guys. So,
at Mercy Health, we have a very diverse and talented workforce. Our partners are made up of a wide variety of races, ethnic origins, colors, religions, orientations, and more.
We are proud.
We appreciate those around us.
We respect our differences.
We create opportunities.
We treat each other like family.
We empower.
We value each other's experiences.
We listen. We encourage one another.
We show empathy.
We advocate.
We are comforting. We lift people up.
We celebrate equality.
We are diverse.
Damos la bienvenida a todas las personas de diferentes orígenes.
We are united.
We stand together.
We are Mercy Health.
Somos Mercy Health.
We are Mercy Health.
We are Mercy Health.
We are Mercy Health.
Our next sponsor, I talked about our workforce development programs. One of our programs is Inspire, where we really work with the kids to kind of getting connected with local career opportunities and local businesses. And so really happy that Keenis is our Inspire sponsor for today, and they just have a brief video that they want to run here. So if you could run that, thank you. Thank you, Keenis, too. And I mean, they are one of our larger employers, but they've also been very community-minded, so I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Okay, our sponsor speaker here is Batterman Services, Engineering Services, and just to come up and say a few words about Batterman and introduce our speaker is Frank McKerns.
Apparently I need to spend money on our video. So we're not videographers, so please be kind when it's done. A little background on us. We've been around for over 100 years, believe it or not, primarily in Rock County in northern Illinois. But around 2016 or so, our phones started to ring more in Walworth County. And in 2017, we had a new employee join us, Kristen Belanja. who grew up in Elkhorn, and that the phone has kept ringing ever since. And during that time, from 2016-17, we had some key team members that live in this area, so we decided to open an office on the north side of Elkhorn. The community's been very welcoming. We appreciate that very much. You've spent a lot of time having coffee with me and giving me the lay of the land. Very appreciative of that. So the video will speak for itself. We're happy to be here, and you've probably seen our trucks around. It may be frustrating because you're stopped in construction. That means we get to pay our bills. So please be patient when you see one of our trucks. So I believe we have a video, and again, be kind to us after the video. Okay, so maybe it wasn't that bad. Thank you, Katie, for putting that together on short notice. Very appreciative. Following on what Mercy was saying, it's a struggle to find people. So in that vein, this morning, raise your hand, pattern a team that was at the Elkhorn High School. Engineers, they don't want to get any recognition. Surveyors and engineers. And that was a great event. You talked to some high school kids and let them know what engineering and surveying can look like. And all we're really trying to do is keep up with CCI, who's way ahead of all of us. Next, I'm going to introduce the speaker. I'm going to butcher your last name, so I apologize in advance. So, Liz Oplatka works for Gateway Technical College Business and Workforce Solutions. She works as a consultant, facilitator, coach in leadership, organizational development, and organizational psychology. Liz facilitates WCEDA's Fundamentals of Supervision program and our new top-level leadership program for senior and executive leaders. Liz coaches current and future leaders, helps businesses build lasting teams, improve employee engagement, revitalize struggling enterprises, and can assist you in developing your team through today's growing pains. She's been coaching, consulting, training, and teaching undergrads and grad students for more than 20 years. Prior to that, she practiced what she preaches as a business and governmental journalist known for turning around floundering newspapers, offering leadership expertise to the healthcare, construction, legal, and credit industries. She also worked as a counselor in the Loyola University Health System Employee Assistance Program. And Liz let Derek know that in the last decade or so, since she's been talking about multi-generational workforce, one disturbing thing has changed over that time. And these days, she may be the only boomer left in the room. Based on how large I had to print that to read it, I think I might be with you. Let's give a warm WCEDA welcome to our speaker.
I'm not used to being mic'd. Is everything okay here? Okay, great. I just want to thank Frank and all the sponsors of the WCEDA event today for inviting me in. I'm really honored. Good afternoon, Walworth County Business. Let's talk a little bit about this multi-generational workforce, shall we? We've heard a lot today already about about how many of you are having difficulty finding and keeping employees. And when we talk about the multi-generational workforce, really what we're talking about is a form of diversity inside of our organizations. I was looking for a clicker for the slides, yeah? Okay. I found it. Awesome. So I have a little bit of a disclaimer for you. This is part of the social science of organizational psychology, that is the psychology of communities. But the truth is that it's not the best science we've got. In fact, even determining what constitutes a generation varies from group to group. So I hope that you'll be patient with us this morning. Just keep this in mind. People and populations vary dramatically. Isn't that a wonderful thing, that we're all so different from one another? just understand that we're all really complex. So let's start here. There's not going to be any generation bashing today. In fact, if you look at those covers right there, the two time covers, the red cover right there on the top there, that came out around the time Gen X entered the workforce. And at that time, we were calling Gen X a bunch of slackers. Just beneath that, it came out around the time that the Millennials entered the workforce, and we called them the me generation. And we said that they were entitled. I don't think that turned out to be true either. And then there's the one on the left about my generation, the baby boomers. I don't think we really wound up being a generation of psychopaths. Let's take a look at the generations we have in the workplace. There's 5 of them. And that's unprecedented, and that's why it's freaking us out a little bit. We start with the silent generation. There's still some silence in the workforce now. There were 47 million silents, and then we move on to as you can see, the boomer generation, right? My folks, now somewhere between 58 or so and 73. The most recent data I have comes from 2020. There were 76 million baby boomers. Just in case you're wondering why you can't find employees, we are retiring in droves. There are 45 million Gen Xers, this by far the smallest of the US generations, and then 66 million millennials. And let's not forget that the millennials aren't kids anymore. The oldest millennials are in their 40s now. And 61 million Generation Z members. The oldest Gen Zs are 25. They've graduated from college and they are well into their careers. This is what the workforce looks like as of the end of 2020. And what you can see there is that that we are just beginning to get Gen Z coming into the workforce. That's still about 2% of the workforce are members of the silent generation, and that the millennials have overtaken all other generations in the workplace. So let's take a quick look. You've probably heard about a lot of this stuff, but let's take a quick look at the qualities of each of these generations. There we go. Sorry about that. How about that? That works, right? So let's take a look at the silent generation first. These folks were born from 1925 to 1945. Do we have any members of the silent generation in the room with us today? Hello, members of the silent generation. This generation does remain in the workforce. Many are working part-time, but still working. These are folks who were, many of whom were too young to participate in World War II, but too young for the summer of love. The label describes their conformist tendencies and their belief that following the rules is the sure way to meet success. The characteristics of this generation are that these are folks who were among the first to seek equality in the nation, among the first adapters to the civil rights movement. These are also folks who are willing to compromise in order to get things done. A very, very strong family orientation, and suffer in silence, celebrate in public. So in my old neighborhood in Berlin, Illinois, just west of downtown Chicago, working class neighborhood, when a family would get a new car, they'd either parade it in the driveway or block the alley with it. And all the neighbors would come over and say, wow, that's really great. But if a family was having trouble financially, they'd tell the kids, don't talk about it. And the neighbors would quietly stop by and say, why don't you come over to our house for dinner tonight? Or, we just had too much. Would you mind taking this off our hands? This generation is really the first to be able to do two things. One is plan for retirement, but also the second to expect a college experience. And that's because of Social Security, Medicare, and the GI Bill, which their parents, the generation just before them experienced for the first time, returning from World War II. If we look at the next generation, we're talking about the baby boomers, my people. Born 1946, January 1st, 1946, to December 31st, 1964. Who are boomers? Oh, see, we're still here. We're still here. Don't let them get rid of us. We're still here. Okay. So with the baby boomers, we were born immediately following World War II. There was a great economic boom. Folks coming back from war, starting their families, building the suburbs, building homes. We're known as the hippie kids, right? Protesting against the Vietnam War, participating in the civil rights movement. All the time, rock and roll blaring in the background. But it's also the longest of all U.S. generations. So there's a huge generational split, and I'm on the back side of this one, between those of us who were old enough to participate in the Vietnam, the counterculture, civil rights experiences, and those who were young children at the time. It's the difference between the Summer of Love and Studio 54. Characteristics of our generation include that, honestly, we are a generation of contrasts. We were radicals in the 60s and 70s and yuppies in the 80s and 90s. The highest marriage rates, but also the highest divorce rates. We were the early pursuers of the American dream, but before that, we were members of the counterculture. This is the most affluent U.S. generation, and likely the most long-lived of currently living generations. Now, I talked a little bit about that split in the generations. Well, 55% of us came of age at the height of the Vietnam War, the sexual revolution, Watergate, the golden age of rock and roll. 45% of us came of age during the Reagan years, new conservatism, and disco. Then Gen X. So these were originally called the Baby Busters. Who are Gen X's in the room? Oh, look at all of you. Just waiting for us to retire. Take care of us. Yeah. Some of us already retired. So, honestly, we say that it was fertility rates, but folks just stopped having as many kids immediately following the boomers. As teenagers, you all experienced the AIDS epidemic, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the conclusion of the Cold War. This is also often called the MTV generation. That X in the name actually refers to the generation's desire not to be defined. Honestly, from the perspective of someone who works in psychology, Gen Xers suffer from middle child syndrome. What social scientists tell us is that Gen Xers just want to be seen. As children, Gen X experienced the fallout of Watergate, the end of U.S. involvement in Vietnam, and the energy crisis and stagflation. This is the first generation that was more likely than not to live in a dual-income family or with a single parent. I remember toward the end of the baby boom, we had one family in my class in grade school where there was a divorce, and everybody talked about it. I was the only kid at school who wore her key around her neck because both parents were out of the house. But all of that changed during for Gen X. This group tends to be pessimistic about whether they'll have enough money for retirement, or whether Medicare and Social Security will be there for them after the boomers suck all the air out of them. This is indeed the smallest of all of the generations. This generation tends to be skeptical, if not downright pessimistic, about promises made to them in the world. There we go. Oh, sorry. What the heck? Hello, millennials. There you are. The millennial generation. These are folks born from 1981 to 1997. Okay, who are millennials? This is interesting because in any given room, we ought to see more millennials than any other group. Millennials experienced the rise of the internet, September 11th, and the wars that followed. This is often called Generation Y, as in Generation Y. This group is the nightmare of a marketing person. They don't buy stuff. Okay? They were less likely to drive, be married by the age of 25, and to live on their own. They're also known to be more interested in societal values and volunteering. So this generation appears to really care because they saw their parents lose their jobs in corporate downsizing in the downturns of 2001 and 2008. Although this generation might have been late to the consumerism table, in fact, millennials are buying houses now. They now make up 43% of home buyers, more than any other living generation. Because of their dependence on technology, millennials are said to be entitled and narcissistic. I don't buy it. Okay. So this group tends to be multitaskers. The problem with multitasking is that it doesn't actually exist. We just think that we're doing it. We're just doing two things badly. We're connected via electronic means, and they're seeking a work-life balance. Have you heard work-life balance? Work-life balance would be great if it were real, right? Work-life balance would be 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for everything else. Well, that isn't exactly the way the world works, right? This group is brought up to work in teams because that's what they've done as kids, right? Joined every team they could possibly join. Just ask any parent who had to drive them to a game, right? They have no expectation of privacy because in a post-9/11 world, there isn't a whole lot of privacy. They're highly socially aware, unimpressed with position and traditional success, and they experienced the 2001 to 2008 economic downturns. This group entered the workforce with more debt than any previous American generation. Now, my hope is that we've got some Gen Zs in the room. Who are Gen Zs? Hey, people! It's good to see you guys here. Right? Taking an interest in business. This is all good. Okay? This is all good. So Gen Z, the oldest of whom are 25 years old, they're in the workforce and now they're in Congress. Gen Z is more comfortable and reliant on technology than any generation before it. This group appears highly individualistic and eschews labels. So that joining thing, probably not big for this generation. The group has been in the workforce since about 2016, and so the emergence of this generation into the workforce has been tainted by the COVID era. We're just beginning to learn about this generation, and so a lot is yet to be seen. Generational characteristics, as we believe that we know them. Imagine this. This is a generation that has never known a world without the internet or wireless communication. And the web just seems so cool and new to me. They have gaps in health indicators, and this is something to be worried about. In fact, this probably has a lot to do with various lifestyle issues, including lacking health insurance and access to care, sedentary lifestyles, and associated weight gain and diabetes. They are more likely to live, work, and attend schools with a diverse population. They're used to being around people who are unlike themselves. Unlikely to be able to purchase a home for a mortgage that represents, it's going to be really hard for this generation to buy houses. This group has an expectation of being treated equally regardless of their background. So, any of that stuff sound like any of you? Does it sound accurate? Let's try something. I left questionnaires at your tables. Gave you guys homework. People at my table gave me hell for it. So let's take a look. How did you all do? Do you align with your generation? Okay, let's take a look. I gotta put my glasses on for this one, excuse me. I hate annual performance appraisals. Anybody say that? Yeah. So I work in organizational development, so do I. I think they're a terrible idea. Well, then you must be a millennial, right? I'm willing to compromise. Then you're a silent. I suffer in silence, celebrate in public. You're most definitely a silent. I prefer keeping connected electronically. There's no doubt about it, you're a member of Gen Z. I am seeking work-life balance. You're a millennial. I am unimpressed with position and traditional success. You're a millennial. Family is most important to me. Can't be true if you're not a member of the silent generation. I need to know my company does good work in the world. You're a millennial. Moving up in my organization is important. That's a Gen X because Gen X just wants to be seen, right? I earned what I have. Don't take it away. Please, say the boomers. I live, know, and am surrounded by people who are unlike me. Gen Z. I am a multitasker. You're a millennial. It's most important to me that I am known as a hard worker. Member of the silent generation. I want daily practical feedback. You're a millennial. I want perks with my job. Gen X. I want my boss to recognize that I could work elsewhere, but I choose to work here. Gen X. I want a coach more than a boss. Millennial. I want to be noticed for the value I bring to my workplace. Get it? Get it? There we go. Yep. Got it? Then very clearly, you're a Gen Xer. Someday, I will retire comfortably. Boomers will all believe that, right? I'm a joiner. I look for groups to join. You're a millennial. Okay. So how many of your responses only reflected the generation of which you are a member? Anybody? I don't see any hands up. What happened? Look, I'm an old news reporter, and we're pretty skeptical. We don't accept that there's any easy explanation to things. We like to take context into account. I don't think that the way we describe the generations holds up entirely. I think we need to understand the context of our employees. There are so many aspects for us to take into account. Honestly, what we're talking about here is a diversity issue. What we're talking about here is understanding people. Yeah, there's some science here. It's not the best we've got. It might help you. Oops, right? There we go. Ah! It might help you to answer this question. Oh my God, what do they want from me? here's an idea. Relax. Your employees are people. Chances are that many of you are, them, right? Everybody has a historical perspective. Everybody comes from something. Everybody has a context. Everybody has lived with something, and it colors the way they see the world. But it doesn't paint the same color for everyone. If I experience something, the effect that it has on me might not be the effect that it has on you. So we try not to assume. How many of you are familiar with the golden rule? Right? Do unto others as you have others done do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Right? Okay. How about this? How about the platinum rule? Do unto others as they would have themselves done unto. And how do you know? How do you know that how they would have themselves done unto? What do you have to do? Yeah, you gotta ask them, right? That's what we have to do. We have a strong tendency to associate behaviors with generations when really what we're doing is we're associating behaviors with ages. Every generation says about the one that follows kids these days, right? But there's a difference between age-related experience and generational experience. Every generation that comes after the one before says, they're holding me back. Let's just play a quick game of word association, okay? So, with what age do you associate recklessness? Teenagers, youngsters, right? How about change resistance? Geezers, yeah. How about impulsivity? Those crazy kids, right? How about technologically challenged? Right? Okay. Maybe really what we're talking about is age-related difference and not generational difference most of the time. Let's talk a little bit about what we say starts out looking like seeing a difference, but very quickly turns into bias. I'm sure you've heard this, right? The boomers took all the good stuff and left us with a pile of debt, right? It is not statistically true. Gen X homebuyers built the largest, most expensive homes in U.S. history. How about this? Here, okay, boomer. Substitute any other descriptor for boomer, and it's an epithet, right? What are we doing? Or this one, they don't embrace or understand technology. Really? Because, gotta say, Steve Wozniak is 72. Mark Tarpening is 58. And Sheryl Sandberg is 53. Now tell me more about old folks. In fact, I'm 60. And you want me to trade in my 6-year-old phone? Understand that somebody promised me one of these once, and I'm still waiting for my flying car. Okay? I mean, the new phones are cool and everything, but zipping around in one of those babies, that's what I want, right? My first phone was one of these. Western Electric, built in Cicero, Illinois, 2 miles from my house by my stepdad's family. So I'll tell you what, you want me to take all of that time to move my contacts and my photos and everything out of my phone? Well, I gotta tell you, you're gonna have to do a little bit better than a new camera, right? I want a tectonic shift before I go through that kind of trouble. So how about, whoops, you guys really seen it before I do it? Okay, so how about we do this too? How about we stop blaming the kids? How about we understand that there's enough millennial bashing out there, and so since there's enough millennial bashing, let's turn. That was coined by German psychologist Alfred Adler, and I'm a follower of Adler. It refers to the basic human motive to feel valued by and connected to others in pursuit of something that is greater than ourselves, so that other people turn around and say, thank God you are here. You can't go wrong appealing to mental health. When we tell people that they're important to us, it really does matter. So basically what I'm doing is I'm asking you to do this. I'm asking you to see your employees. I'm asking you to know them as individuals, not labels. I want you to stop saying things like, everybody can be replaced. We replace functions, not people. Beware of things like everyday ageism. There's a study that just came out last week. And I'm writing this thing and I'm like, oh cool, new study, I can quote it. 93% of American workers ages 50 to 80 frequently experience ageist remarks at work. I did yesterday. Young workers aren't immune. I want to remind you of a couple things. The first is that the Age Discrimination and Employment Act is the law. The second is that the Wisconsin Fair Labor Standards Act extends civil rights protections to those who are singled out as members of any identifiable group. So what's it gonna take to engage the multi-generational workforce? It's gonna take what it's always taken. It's going to take leadership. The Gallup organization has been polling on employee engagement for just under 2 decades. A little less than 30% of the workforce. This isn't just in the United States, this is worldwide. The United States holds with this, is engaged at work. So I want you to think about 10 employees, and I want you to take 3 of them, and I want you to put them in that corner, and those are your go-to folks. And then you got 7 other workers. 5 of those people, it's actually about 51%, are disengaged. They're your clock punchers. They're the folks who, if your shift ends at 3 o'clock, they're lining up to leave at 2:45, right? They're in it, not to win it, but to just get it done as fast as they possibly can and get home. The others at about 18%, so let's take a couple folks, put them over in that corner right there. They're actively disengaged, which means they're trying to undermine your business. These are folks who break stuff. These are folks who steal stuff, particularly time. These are folks who badmouth your organization to others. Basically, they really don't want to work there, and so they're looking for a way out. So keep in mind that what this adds up to is $7.2 trillion a year in GDP. Annually. That's a 8-year time. These figures did get a little bit worse this year. They probably could be expected, but only by about 2%. 20 years they've been doing this. This crosses generations. There's longitudinal studies been going on for 25 years of senior managers by the U.S. Department of Labor. And what they've been doing is asking managers what they perceive as the greatest threats to their organizations. And they have come up with the same 10 challenges every year. It's not a generational problem, it's a leadership problem. So I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to invest in holding off the greatest threat and building your potentially greatest asset. Leadership at all levels, in teams, in employee engagement, in organizational and employee development. The same indicators, 25 years. That isn't a generational issue. What we're talking about today is really interesting, and I love talking about the multi-generational workforce, and I love looking at the things that generations have been through and predicting how people might act because of what happened as they were coming up in the world. It's a lot of fun, right? But if you're really looking to make things happen, to have a dynamic, engaged workforce, blaming generational difference is saluting a false flag. Here's some things that you can do. Consider doing things like this and tending to your company. Develop a talent pipeline or succession program. Create your own leadership academy. If you want to lead in this organization, if someday you want to be a lead, a supervisor, a manager, an executive inside of this organization, you got to learn how to lead first. Make learning a high priority for everyone inside of your organization, regardless of your level inside of your company. And flatten your organizational structure. The more people have to reach up in order to reach out, the more likely they are to give up. I heard something in the Kunis video earlier about practicing servant leadership. And all servant leadership is saying to folks, I'm here to make your job easier so you can serve the people at the top of our company. Our customers at the top of our company. Measure employee engagement for sure, but act on it. Don't just ask people what they're looking for and then not do anything about it. Make your teams cohesive and learn and practice effective change leadership skills. Look, we're all whiz-bang at what we do technically, right? I mean, this is Walworth County. But what threatens us is the way we work with people. So let's focus on people, not just generations. I'd love for us to continue this conversation, so let's get some questions and some discussion and some yelling at me and stuff like that. Anybody, please, don't leave me up here like this. It's just... Yeah?
Fine, I'll play, just because no one else. I don't want to bash the generation. And I predicted that several people were not going to show up at this table today without letting me know, and they're all from the same generation. So I just want to say, sometimes it's difficult when we say, okay, but you have to kind of go with our generation, and then it doesn't happen. So it's just enough.
Yeah. That's a good point, because I hear from folks all the time, right? Oh, man, I don't know what to do with this group of people. Something's changed. Something's different. Right? Yeah, something has changed. People aren't as interested in work as they used to be. One of the questions you might ask yourself is, how come, right? How come? What is it about today that doesn't interest them? That isn't important to them? And then ask the second question, hey, what is? Right? It's tough to do, and thank you for not generation bashing. In sort of a passive-aggressive, yeah. Hi!
I'm a millennial, right? But I've come to find out that working with the generation beneath me, and I don't know what it is, but you have to have some kind of personal connection with them, and they actually work harder and are more, and I found that they're more dedicated than any other generation that I've worked with in the field, right? So I work a lot with high school students, right? And we work with the ProStart team, and when we get them engaged and there's a buy-in for them, the value that they place into the workforce is amazing, right? So, it is that generation that I think each generation just looks for what's different and what do they connect on. But that young generation that everyone says doesn't want to work, isn't working, they do work once they have that personal connection with whether it be the environment or the culture that's being part of where you're working or whatnot.
Yeah. Clearly, you found a way to connect. Something in what you're doing, saying, addressing, being, the way you're being, is making a connection. And so for you, it's a different experience. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jesse.
Liz, this all seems so overwhelming. Does Gateway have training or solutions that you can offer to our businesses?
Thank you, Gateway. Thank you, Mr. Gateway trustee, sitting next to you, my boss's boss. I really appreciate that. I work for an organization inside of Gateway called Business and Workforce Solutions. We're a division of Gateway. And I don't know that my boss loves the way I introduce this, but we are the consulting arm of Gateway. So businesses send folks to us for training, for consultation, for me, for coaching, things like that. Or we go out into businesses and everything that we do is completely custom to that organization. And I know this is the part my boss hates it when I say this, but I'm not here to lose money for the technical college system. So we have high quality, we provide high quality services, but we also do so at a cost to the taxpayers, right? So you simply make up the difference between what the taxpayers can pay and the cost of providing the service. So thanks for asking. Yeah. Questions? Discussion? Yeah.
So we were having a meeting the other day, and the one thing that came up was, well, how many of our employees could actually say, I care? It didn't matter what job you do, from the machine operator all the way to the top. Who can, do you ever come up with that? You know, because if they don't care.
It's a lot of the work I do. It's a lot of the work I do inside organizations, and it's the question that everybody asks. How do you know whether your employees care? How do you know? How do you know they're really there for you? Because you're paying them, right? So, and this is not planned. I just happen to have this in case anybody asks a question like that. So, the Gallup organization, Gateway was kind enough to pay for me to study at Gallup for about a week. And the Gallup organization does the world's best job at researching employee engagement. And as I was telling you, it's less than a third of employees who are fully engaged. These are the questions in the Gallup survey. You can feel free to look this one up. I think we're going to send out the slides to you as well. But it's called the State of the American Workforce Report. And it comes out every year, I believe in January or February. And it's a phone poll. And these are the questions that they ask. What I say to businesses about these questions is a couple of things. One is, we can do an employee engagement study and do action planning for you, and I highly recommend it. But between now and then, may I suggest to you that on a regular basis, you put this up on a wall, you make sure that every manager, supervisor, lead, high potential employee for any of the above has a copy of it and is looking at it all the time. Here are the sorts of things that we're talking about, right? So what I'm saying is, like, imagine tending to each of these 12 things, okay? What might happen if you did that? One of the things I do when I'm working with my clients is I offer them something called a leader's checklist. It's a list of things that reflect the things that they can do to for leads, managers, supervisors, etc. They can do every week to make incremental improvements. How would your employees respond to these questions? I know what is expected of me at work. I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. At work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day, as opposed to what I don't. Right? In the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. My supervisor or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. There is someone at work who encourages my development. At work, my opinions count. The mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. Several times a week, I ask folks from organizations, what is the mission, vision, values of your company? And companies, including ISO companies, where that mission, vision, values has to be either on a hang tag around somebody's neck or at their desk where they can see it, they say, I don't know. Well, whose fault is that, right? If it doesn't matter to you, why would you know it? My associates or fellow employees are committed to doing quality work. Remember that collaboration is extraordinarily important. When you as a manager walk away from a group, how do they work together? Because there's nothing worse than being stuck in a miserable situation with people who don't want to work or don't want to collaborate with you. In the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. This last year, I've had opportunities at work to learn and grow. And this one, the greatest indicator of whether someone will stay or leave. I have a best friend at work. I'm lucky, I got a bunch of best friends at work. And I can't imagine leaving them. Got that now? But these are the things, that this is how you know whether folks care, right? This is how you can help make them care. Yeah?
Elizabeth, in partnership with Gateway, UW Whitewater will also help you.
Yay!
But in another life, I also employ about 40 kids under 22. And it is amazing. They are way more amazing than you think, and they're probably our kids and grandkids in this room, and they really, really do work hard, and that's important. My question maybe for you and the group is just how to, what do you do in the attraction piece for employment? Since probably most people in the room have several job openings, so the attraction piece.
Yeah. Lots of other people who have a lot more experience in this than I do, sitting at the Gateway table right now. And so I suggest that you do a couple of things. One is, please be in touch with the UW, please be in touch with Gateway, please be in touch with Workforce Development, who are all there to help you. And do understand that our classrooms are not overloaded right now. You know, we don't have a whole ton of people out there for you to just hire from. So one thing I would say is hire for character, hire for folks who really want to work, hire for curiosity. I think that really helps. I think that really helps. Yeah.
I have something to add. Sort of one thing that we found. My business is Home Instead, and we specialize in in-home care for seniors. So we're hiring remote workforce employees who are going out to clients' homes. So we get them in, we love them, we give them this great onboarding experience, and then we don't see them for 3 months. So really tough business, right? But one of the things that we found is immediate gratification, and that's a societal trend. So anything you can do to give people that immediate sense of feedback, some of that is just incorporating the I appreciate you language into every single interaction. We drive this so hard at our company. Our schedulers are probably the primary point of contact. That's their role. They have to find something to say, I appreciate that you picked up the phone today even though you can't pick up the shift. I appreciate that you're still with us. You've been with us for 2 months. That's amazing. We're so proud of you, so excited to have you still on the team. You know, our industry is, we took on a new territory in the South, down in Kentucky and Tennessee, 234% turnover. So we got my work cut out for me as the HR manager. Here in Wisconsin, our flagship office is in Green Bay. They're at 54%. So, I see what we can be as a shining example, and I see, well, we've got a long way to go, right? But, looking for opportunities with vendor partnerships. So, whether, I'll use the vendor's name, no particular investment on my part, but just to kind of give you an idea, what is called bucket list. So point system where you can award points if people are doing that great job. So you cash in the points, you get, gift cards for various organizations, that sort of thing. That's really resonated with our people, and we can award them on the spot for scheduling success. And then the other is pay active, which is you work today, you can cash out up to 50% of what you earned into a Visa debit card. So, we have people that are taking advantage of that. We're hiring people that make $12 an hour. Every day matters for them, and maybe that's the difference in whether their family eats as they get close to that paycheck. So, there's a lot of tools out there for you to look into as resources to bridge that immediate gratification gap.
Those recognition programs are awesome. Consider doing a talent pipeline and succession programs, right? It starts at the interview. You walk people around and say, what else here interests you? Where do you want to go with your career? And if they say, this isn't my last stop, say, cool, that's great. While you're here, we really want you here. And then train up people to mentor. Don't just throw a mentor at someone and assume that they know how to mentor, right? And then create some kind of talent pipeline system using things like a skills matrix, which is basically pay for knowledge, where people learn a skill, they master the skill, they become a trainer in the skill, they learn another skill, they master that skill, they become a trainer, and there's a payoff for them in doing that. Right? This is something that we're really finding that companies are looking for. And we find that they're very, very effective. And by the way, some of those people who say, yeah, ultimately I'm going to leave the organization, when you let them know how welcome they are inside of your organization, that you want to train them up anyway, they might just decide to stay. And so look, you can train people and they leave, or you can not train people and they stay. So I highly recommend it. Yeah. Anything else and stuff to offer the group, right? This is a big support group. Yeah.
When we talk about the dedication of Gen Z in the workforce, how much of that is related to the desire to earn respect from your elders?
This is a fantastic question, because it's a cultural question, right? Many of us, culturally, want our elders to respect us because that's how we were raised, right? Some of us don't. So what do? You ask, what motivates you? You observe, you talk with people about their lives and what's important to them. And when your employees say things like, I'm so excited about this job. Really, what excites you about this job? Well, my parents always wanted me to go into this field. Oh, hello. Right? Yeah, definitely. Thank you for asking that question. Are we good to go? Anything else? Group. Thank you all so much.
I do have just 3 recap sections that I'll move quickly on. I think it's real important to get some updates about WCEDA, what we're doing. Just another slide on some things to expect for the coming year, and we do have a few awards. So, one of our main areas is development, right? So you can see we've been very busy. I guess what I would say about that is that it's really encouraging that we're just continuing to get weekly inquiries about people wanting to expand, relocate to their area, start new businesses. So that's been really exciting that it's still going, even in spite of inflation and all kinds of craziness going on in the world. Just wanted to spotlight a couple of things that we're working on, just to give you a little bit, some specific examples. And so, had a person come to me that wants to develop a pretty large project there in Bloomfield near Lake Geneva to do a boutique hotel. Got pretty much everything in place, but wanted to use a type of financing called PACE, which is property assessed clean energy, and it's the type of thing that needs to be adopted usually by a county. And so we brought that to the county, worked with Mark Roberta and the people at the county for a number of months here, and did get that through. So, you know, it will be eligible at least for him to use, but also for anybody else. I'm pretty excited about that. But those are the types of things sometimes that come to me. They might have a lot of things in place, but they're looking for one particular piece. So, you know, working on that kind of thing. And then, of course, Millennium, you saw the program that they're getting an award here today, but worked with them on something around tax credits to really help solidify their decision to do their corporate headquarters here. Really excited that Shear was the company that built that facility they're in. It's really doing well, but again, just a couple of spotlights of a few projects that are going forward right now to give you that idea, you know, what we do. Just say, was that last newsletter? I was going to run that, but in the interest of time, we'll skip that part there. One thing I wanted to just make you or remind you, so these are the partners that I work with almost on a weekly or monthly basis. There are more, but these are the types of, we have a number of them in the room here today, but you know, utilize us to leverage these contacts. They've been hugely successful in helping put things together, different projects. Some projects get very complex, and so you need to reach out. And then they also have contacts as well. And so just wanted to kind of show you that list, remind you that we have just a wealth of connections and contacts that we can potentially use to help you with your business. You know, of course, we do events, and so these are events that you've seen. We love partnering with our chamber groups. I know there's a bunch of us here today with a lot of fun, but we'll do, you know, educational type events that we branded as our 3 drivers, but also after hour, kind of off the clock events. And so keep an eye out for that. We're going to continue to do those. It's been a great partnership. We have a lot of fun working with each other. And just a couple of other ones that I wanted to show there. In terms of workforce, that's another big area where we are. You've heard us talk about Inspire and Made in Walworth County. These are 2 programs that we do, and you've seen probably Lisa. Where's Lisa here? Raise your hand. But she's out and about with a lot of our businesses, working, connecting with the schools, does a great job. But really the key there is to try to introduce kids to local career opportunities and ultimately get more work experiences going. And so I think we'll skip that one video there, but there's, again, the next slide. Just something that I got from Katie Graff at Gateway, showing that graph in the bottom left there about youth apprenticeships. And so that's something that over the years has been a collective effort, working with Gateway, with what we're doing with the schools to increase these youth apprenticeships in particular. And you can just see how they're growing, and you know, those keep expanding on what they can do. So, you know, typically you would think of an apprenticeship maybe with manufacturing or construction, but they're starting to, in healthcare, but they're starting to expand into all new and different types of career fields. And so we're going to continue to help facilitate those, make those connections, get them set up at the business with the hope that once they have that connection with that local business, you know, they will either go to work for them right out of high school, or if they do get some an associate's or a bachelor's, that they may come back, or that they talk about it with friends and family or parents in that, because we have a tremendous need in the county to get local workers, and we're just not having, we have, I'm trying to think if it's the next slide here, but one of my slides here, I'm going to talk a little bit about how many people commute out. Oops, did I skip that one? I don't know if you want to run that. Leslie, I think the volume is low on that.
I'm here in beautiful Richmond Lodge and beautiful Majestic Oaks Golf Course is behind me, and we are here today to talk about the Youth Apprenticeship Program in Walworth County. I am here with Chris Trotter from the Elkhorn School District, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what youth apprenticeships are all about and how easy it is for businesses to become involved in the program.
Yeah, so at the Elkhorn School District, we have a strong history of really ensuring that all students are future ready. So we look through the lens of making sure that all students have not only dual credit experiences, rich co-curricular experiences, strong academic content, but we really want them to get involved into the school to work experience. And one tool that we use is Department of Workforce Development sponsored youth apprenticeship program, where there's numerous opportunities, numerous pathways from architecture to accounting to finance to manufacturing to hospitality management, which here we are at Lake Lawn Lodge. Students need to be starting their junior year or just entering their sophomore year, work 450 hours, and be at least minimum wage.
So this gives you a little overview. I'm sure Lisa would be happy to talk to you about that if you want to try to get some youth apprentices set up in your area. But again, we're trying to, just really increase, that'll be the focus of our efforts going forward next year, is how many work experiences and how can we increase those. It doesn't have to be through this program, it could be internship, summer jobs, part-time, but just something that's more directed at career opportunities. And so I wanted to make you aware of that. So the last section is a little touchy, I'm sorry. All right, so sorry about that. Probably pointing the wrong way, I guess. We need to be looking at this. So, last section here, some special projects that I wanted to make you aware of. And I noticed my lapel mic on too. So, just want to, so I can get out here and pick the better part. So, a couple different things. So, one thing that we did, we were contracted this year to do a child care study, and it was a very comprehensive study. We have that available. We can get that to you. It's about a 48-page study. We did interviews, surveys, a lot of research. The good news is there's a lot of good people working on this, good organizations, good data. The bad news is we have a gap of about 2,500 slots in the county here, about 12 to 1,500 that are existing. So there's a gap, but the really scary stuff is that after 2024, when some of the subsidized funding comes in, that industry is really worried that they're going to lose all their employees. And so, there are definitely some solutions. We've got some in the reports and different things. We'll be exploring that, doing some presentations in the future, but wanted to make you aware of that. It's part of what I would call, there's 4 barriers to employment that we heard about at our State of the County event that we did in June, and that was kind of brought up by the state labor economist Thomas Walsh, who talked about these 4 barriers that he's seen in Wisconsin, but particularly southeastern. And so, one is broadband, child care, housing, and transportation. And so we're kind of I just wanted to let you know that we're dealing with 2 of these right now, one being child care and then housing. And real quickly with housing, one of them I have listed here is CHIP, and that stands for Community Health and Improvement Plan, something that the county does, and they try to update their plan every 3 to 5 years. I have been participating, and Sarah Nichols and a number of you in the room here, in some advisory meetings the past year. We've gotten to a point now where we're kind of updating some goals and leading goals, and I'm co-leading the goal 3.2, which really has evolved. It was kind of community health. This is community health development, but it's really evolved and focused on housing. And so I think that's actually really exciting, is we're bringing a lot of different groups together, and we're going to come up with some things that I think will be helpful, and hopefully the county and these different agencies can jump in and help with that problem. And then just the Lake Geneva Hospitality Academy, I just wanted to touch on that. So earlier in the year, Abby actually had approached me about a grant that was out there called the Wisconsin Innovation Workforce Grant. We got involved, we applied for that, we worked with, we kind of pulled in the other 3 major resorts, Grand Geneva, Lake Lawn, and Paloma, put together an application, didn't get funded, but through that process, Abby came up with this Lake Geneva Hospitality Academy idea, which they are actually doing on their own, but in the new year, we're going to be kind of revisiting that and seeing if we can pull in the other major properties and other tourism entities with the help of Gateway as well. So wanted to make you aware of that. And then just really kind of the second category of special projects is how do we increase youth experiences. And so just wanted to make you aware that we started to meet almost monthly or every other month with the school superintendents from the county. And I know we have a few here today. Dr. Bill White from the Williams Bay School District, and also Jason Cavall from the East Troy area school. But just really trying to, what can we do to help with encouraging and facilitating more youth experiences? And on the flip side, they're really interested in what we're doing with economic development, particularly to help the housing issue so that they can get more families, particularly young families, moving in to the area, and then how can we get those young families connected with local jobs. So it's just something I want to make you aware of. I think it's been a really good development, and excited to see where that will go. And so just the next thing, just a quick look at what we're thinking of for next year. And so we've got a few of these different areas, but as I mentioned with our Inspire and the youth program, just try to be increasing work experiences. So we'll be reaching out to all of you to help us get connected with that. In terms of the housing, we're looking at doing a housing summit, hopefully first quarter, second quarter. So again, look for that. It'll be definitely a community-wide effort, and I think a lot of good could come out of that. Mentioned with the child care study that we want to get some of those, do some presentations on it, some potential solutions that we can work with, some public-private potential solutions on that. One thing that I'd like you to really think about is, I've got that little graphic there where the distance traveled to work, and in our annual report there too, there's some more information on commuters, but that's an area that really, I feel like, geez, we've got something like 20,000 people that commute out of the county each day to work. And yeah, part of it is the wages, but we've all had to increase wages, and it's been painful, but I think as we've gotten through that, it's made it a little bit more attractive for people not to commute and maybe look at local jobs. But I want you to really think about that group, and I know we're thinking about doing a recruitment, kind of a larger recruitment effort first quarter or second quarter, where we'd be trying to really use some technology to do some geofencing and geotargeting to get, really to try to get to some of these people that are commuting out of the area. And how can we get them to think about working here? Because everybody I talk to is desperate for work. So. And then just finally, we have a promotion that we want called On the Move, where we'll be doing a weekly, where because any one of us are usually out of the business and just trying to get a quick video clip and ask something fun or whatever and get that out there. I don't know if we have a clip on that. No, okay. So, but just to make you aware that you'll see that in our newsletter. So, and we'll be doing, threw that out there, new fundraiser this year, but we'll be doing the golf fundraiser with the boat element there. So look for that, and hopefully you'll support that. All that proceeds will go for the workforce development. So. This is a time really where I just want to recognize the 2 awards that we typically do. One this year is around Waller County culture, and based on our topic with Liz there, I think it's just something that is so important. And so, can we recognize a company for their culture? And so. Millennium was one that was nominated and selected here for that award. And so I just want to read a few brief things and then invite up Alexis and Sam from Millennium to give their award. But they said, I think this was Alexis just saying it has a great company culture and it has little to do with the perks, although the perks are good, but it has really a lot more to do with the relationships. And they focus on mutual respect and friendliness with all their employees. They have some core values around passion, caring, curiousness, and dependability. But they also have some fun things like a full gym in the building. They, with treadmills and Pelotons, they do cooking things. They have outings. We really tried to get to know, I think as Liz had said, develop those best friends and those friendships, and it really seems to be paying off. So I would like to just invite Alexis and Sam up to receive your award, and congratulations.
We appreciate the vote, and culture is great at our company. I just started about 2.5 years ago, and I've had a lot of success within the company, and I have a lot of good friends in the company, and we love our owner, and we don't think of him as a boss, only as a leader, and he inspires us and pushes us every day. I was just at BMO actually yesterday getting a new debit card because someone hacked my card, and the lady, the banker's like, "Oh, where do you work?" And I'm like, "Oh, Millennium." And she's like, "Oh, that's a great company." And I was like, "Yeah, it's super fun." And just explaining what we do, and it was really good. It felt good too.
I'm just here for the wine.
Okay, and then our next award here is our, and actually to help present the award, we have the namesake here, Dave Retto. So, thank you, Dave. And for those of you who don't know, so Dave had retired 3 years ago from the county, and went to work for a company and became principal there with Public Administration Associates. And so Dave and I have kept in touch, and I don't know, it's probably 6 months ago we got talking about WCEDA and him potentially joining it as a member, and then I said, well, what about thinking about getting on the board? And so we twisted his arm, and here he is. So Dave recently joined the board. We're really glad to have him. But Dave, we had put together an award actually in Dave's name, probably now 5 years ago, at least 6 years probably, and really just because of the work that he had done over his time there and the impact that he had on the community. And so we created this Community Betterment Award, and since then we've tried to find organizations and then really a person within the organization who's been a champion for that. And so really excited this year to be able to present this to Eric and Bernadette Rousseau, who have headed up the Dementia Friendly Initiative. And so love to have you come up, Eric and Bernadette, and receive your award. And I should say, too, that there is a check, too, that will be presented to them. And Ryan, maybe one more, too, if you can check here. And that was funded by Dave Barrow, too. So thank you very much. Would you like to say a few things? Okay, great.
Anyway, first of all, I'd like to thank the folks that nominated us for this award. It means a lot to us. And then I'd also like to thank all the folks that voted for us on this award. And I'll keep this really brief since I can't read my notes. We depend mostly on volunteers, in fact, entirely on volunteers. And we are expanding our program every week of the year. During the winter time, we are very busy training organizations and businesses on becoming dementia friendly. That is, working with people that respect people in the community that are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. And we really want to get involved with the businesses because they have employees that have probably got parents or grandparents that have the disease. We've heard of instances where children as young as 8 have been the primary caregivers for their grandparents and parents, so it's really a big problem. It's going to be every year. It's supposed to be doubled by the year 2035 here in Wellworth County. And so we do need volunteers. And our new program, the Cycling Without Age, is where we provide rides to seniors that are not getting out in the world anymore. They're more isolated. And so that's always important. We hope to increase our bikes from 2 to 4 this year. But at $12,500 a piece, the bikes are expensive, so we need sponsors for that. And we also need folks that will ride the bike. We call them pilots. For every bike that we have, we probably need about 15 pilots. We've got 2 bikes now, we've got 36 pilots. So for the 2 more bikes, we still need more pilots. And everybody can do that. I'm 79, and I'm a pilot, and I have an individual 88 who is a pilot. Everybody can be a pilot, except Bernadette. Her feet don't reach the pedals. So, anyway, we'd love to have anybody join that group. We'll have information on the back table as we leave here. Please stop by and pick it up. Thank you again for honoring us with this award.
Okay, Lisa has an announcement there real quick.
I just want to say, at each table there's a sticker underneath one of the chairs, and you can take off the centerpiece if you like. So I just wanted to announce that.
Okay, yeah.
What are you guys taking?
Perfect. So yeah, so we're almost done. We just have one last section here. So always, that's all right, Lisa. That's all right. So last but not least, it's nice to be able to recognize our outgoing board members. Usually each year we have 2 to 3 that would either term out or for some reason they have to step down. And so, but we always love to recognize their service. And so, I know Josh had planned originally to be here today, except in person, but Josh Mummery was great to serve with him, even though it was a short term, but he was part of that younger generation that I appreciated his input. We had a lot of businesses in common, so we would share information about that, help make connections. He would also have good information around Rock County and some of the things they were doing. So just really appreciated his time and hope he does well. We have on the table here just a memento that I will get to him. Bob Miller from Aurora Healthcare, again, really enjoyed serving with him. Bob had actually retired, but one of the things I liked about Bob is he had a lot of economic development experience in his previous role before coming here, so he had a real great interest in what we were doing and always had good insights at our meetings and helped get some good conversation going. And then, of course, I think probably almost everybody in this room knows Steve Magnuson. Steve and I had dated back to probably 1999, really, when I was working for George Williams College and Music by the Lake. He had taken me under his wing and just always been a mentor and been really helpful to me during his time. And so really appreciate the service of all these folks. We will get them just a little memento so that they'll remember us by, but wanted to make sure that we recognize them and that you knew that they had served for us. So that's it. I know we're over time, but really appreciate everybody being here. Thanks to our speaker, Liz. We could talk all day about that, and I hope we do. Thank you, everybody.